It is our pleasure today to welcome Minister of International Development, Karina Gould, to our show today. Madame Gould, thank you very much for appearing on our show. And I think you have some very interesting and exciting news to tell us about. You made an announcement of about $32 million going towards supporting the economic empowerment of women and the most vulnerable and marginalized groups in Ukraine. So thank you very much, first of all, for that announcement. Second, for you being here. And now we just would like to hear from you the details of how this $32 million is to be spent in Ukraine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Yuri, for having me on the show and having the opportunity to share, particularly with Ukrainian Canadians, what the government of Canada is doing in Ukraine. As you mentioned, a couple of weeks ago, I announced $32 million in additional support for Ukraine, particularly when it comes to women's economic empowerment. As many of your viewers may know, the government of Canada has been a longstanding partner of Ukraine. We have provided about $50 million each year since 2014, and we're actually the fifth largest donor country to Ukraine. Of that $32 million, we're providing, 5.1 million to the Cooperative Development Foundation of Canada and their local partner, the All Ukrainian Charity Foundation. This will help internally displaced persons, women with disabilities, and women living in rural or peri-urban areas in the regions of Kiev, Kharkiv, and Dnipropetrovsk to find jobs or create livelihoods through entrepreneurship. We're also providing $7.9 million to Sokodevi and their local partner, Dnipropetrovsk Agricultural Advisory Services, and again, to help support women-led agricultural work and promote sustainable agricultural production. We're providing $4.3 million to Acted to help conflict-affected populations in the Donbass region through livelihood grants and small business training and a saving loans initiative. And we're also providing $7.8 million through Pact Inc. To support women directly through skills and business development activities. And one of the other programs that will also be funding through this announcement is $7 million to help combat sexual and gender-based violence in Ukraine. One of the things that Canada is very proud of is the work that we've done to support, police reform and judicial reform, and the support that we provided to women who've been the victims of sexual and gender-based violence.
Madam Minister, it seems that your programs here are very well defined on one hand, and on the other, very properly targeted. Because indeed, it seems that there are those kind of issues in Ukraine, and I understand that it took about 2 years to identify all these problems or identify these issues and identify these programs. One of many concerns that we have is that sometimes things get lost in these government programs. How are you ensuring that they actually, sort of happen and are implemented in the way that you really wanted them in the first place?
Absolutely, and it's a really important question, and I want to assure you and your viewers that the government of Canada works with trusted partners, be it in Ukraine or in other parts of the world. Sometimes those are UN agencies, like the $7 million project to fight sexual and gender-based violence is going through UNFPA, or through trusted Canadian NGOs or international NGOs. Soko Devi is a partner with whom we have worked for decades in the government of Canada, and we have very strict due diligence and accountability mechanisms in place with all of our projects, because ultimately what's most important for us is making sure that the assistance, the cooperation that we're providing gets to the people who need it the most. And in this case, that's vulnerable Ukrainians in either conflict-affected areas or who need additional assistance, to make sure that they get that. And so that's our top priority, and that's what we work towards.
Madam Minister, I understand also that if you maybe a week or so ago you had a meeting with representatives of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress. Could you tell us a little bit about the context and content of that meeting?
Yeah, that was a really wonderful meeting that I had with representatives of the UCC from coast to coast. And it was really great to hear the engagement of Ukrainian Canadians, how deeply connected they are to Ukraine, and how much they care about making a positive difference in the lives of people in Ukraine. We talked about a wide range of issues. I shared these announcements with them, but we talked about areas where Canada has had, a significant impact. I mentioned judicial reform, police reform, of course, the security support that we're providing in Ukraine, as well as, the economic empowerment activities that are so important because we all recognize that Ukrainians have so much to offer, be it at home or abroad, and really strengthening those ties and reflecting on those deep ties that we have between people both in Canada and Ukraine, as well as organizations and businesses, and of course between our governments. And so it was really wonderful to hear from them about their priorities and to continue to have that important engagement between the Ukrainian diaspora here in Canada and the government of Canada so that we can continue to advance our shared priority of greater inclusion, equity, and prosperity in Ukraine.